Please subscribe and you can download this code from description below. Documentation is an essential part of any software project, as it helps developers and users understand how the code works and how to use it. In Python, docstrings are a way to add inline documentation to your code, making it easier to generate documentation for your functions, classes, and modules. GitHub provides a built-in wiki feature that allows you to create and host documentation for your projects. In this tutorial, we'll walk through the process of automatically generating GitHub Wiki documentation from Python docstrings using Python and some popular tools. Before we get started, make sure you have the following prerequisites. You can install ghp-import using pip. First, ensure that your Python code has well-written docstrings. Docstrings are placed within triple-quoted strings and typically provide information about the purpose of a function, class, or method. For example, make sure to document your code using this format, as it will be used to generate the GitHub Wiki. We'll use the Sphinx documentation generator to generate HTML documentation from Python docstrings. If you haven't installed Sphinx, you can do so using pip. Now, navigate to the root directory of your project and run the following command to create a Sphinx documentation project. Follow the prompts to configure your documentation project. You can accept the default options for most settings. When prompted, set the Autodoc extension to yes. This extension allows Sphinx to automatically extract docstrings from your Python code. After configuring your Sphinx project, you can build the documentation using the following command. This command generates restructured text, .rst, files in the docs directory from your code's docstrings. You can find these files under docs/source. Now, build the HTML documentation by running. This command will generate the HTML documentation in the docs/_build directory. Now that you have generated the HTML documentation, you can push it to your GitHub Wiki. To do this, we'll use the ghp-import tool. First, navigate to the _build/HTML directory of your Sphinx project. Then, use ghp-import to push the documentation to your GitHub Wiki. This command will push the documentation to the GH-pages branch of your GitHub repository, which is where GitHub Wiki pages are hosted. After pushing the documentation, it will be available on your GitHub Wiki. You can access it by visiting https://github.com/username/repo/wiki. To keep your documentation up to date, make sure to rebuild and push the documentation whenever you make changes to your docstrings or code. In this tutorial, you learned how to automatically generate GitHub Wiki documentation from Python docstrings using Sphinx and ghp-import. Properly documenting your code not only benefits you but also helps other developers understand and use your project. By following these steps, you can easily create and maintain documentation for your GitHub project, improving its accessibility and usability. ChatGPT.